In this episode, we get up close and personal with veteran NBC 10 news anchor Tracy Davidson. So I guess I want to ask you how faith informs your life, and also this, there aren't too many news anchors who, in their spare time, run off to the seminary to study theology.
No, that's not a thing.
It's not. I don't think it's a thing. Do you think it's a thing?
You should have seen those poor seminarians when the lady on TV showed up in heels and makeup.
Right. Tracy joins forces with motivational speaker Jen Croneberger to help empower women on the main line. Jen's also got words of wisdom for parents of young athletes.
One of the things I talked a lot about was, I called it the car ride home. You can make or break your child in the car ride home. If you ask the wrong questions, if you put the pressure on too much, if you ask why they made that mistake. The question, in my opinion, that should be asked when your child gets in the car after a sporting event, win, lose, or whatever.
Welcome to Savvy Mainline, the podcast. Each episode brings hot news, cool tips, and a chat with a super fascinating local or two. We're all mainline all the time. I'm Savvy founder Caroline O'Halloran. Today's podcast is brought to you by Austin Hepburn. Are your windows and doors inefficient, drafty, and, not so pretty? Do what I did and call Austin Hepburn. For more than 30 years, Austin has been the main line's go-to guy for window and door replacements. He's got the eye of an artist and the hands of a master carpenter. He's also platinum certified by Pella, which means he's cream of the crop. Austin is such a pleasure to work with, and he works within your budget. No hard sell, just great advice and meticulous installation. Find him online at austinhepburnwindows.com or contact ahepburn@verizon.net. That's austinhepburnwindows.com. My usual co-host, my daughter Cara, is in Europe on business, so I've recruited an awesome pinch hitter. Super shopper Aly McBride, better known as the Mainline Find to thousands of locals who follow her on Instagram. Aly is an original member of Team Savvy Mainline. She's a former attorney, Villanova Law School grad, longtime resident of Bryn Mawr, and she has 3 young children. And she's completely plugged into the mainline retail and restaurant scene. I can't tell you how many times she's texted me tips about a store opening or closing. I need spies to do what I do, and Aly's like my personal Sherlock Holmes or 007. So Aly, thanks for being a super sleuth and for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is exciting. This is great.
Yeah, well, it's awesome to have you. So just like your elevator pitch, what is the Mainline Find for the few people out there who don't know what you do?
Well, the Mainline Find is my business. It's very small, but I sell vintage. I have a very curated look. It is all online. And I also have a mission where I try and spread the word and awareness about secondhand shopping, because overconsumption is quite the issue in our world, and there's an abundance of amazing, incredible things out there.
Where do you find your finds? You're all over the place.
I'm all over the place.
On the main line, where do you go?
On the main line, I'm at every thrift store. I am at auction houses, estate sales, you name it. I was in Morocco last month shopping.
I want that job.
I'm literally everywhere. I am always on the hunt. I am always looking for just incredible, unique items.
Yeah, so it's not stuff you're going to pick up at Pottery Barn
No.
or TJ Maxx or Home Goods. Your stuff is just more just interesting, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to get people away from mass-produced vases that you can find at Home Goods. I'd rather have people have something that an artisan made. Have that in your home. Have something more interesting, eclectic, unique, instead of just what everybody else has.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. So we have some headlines.
We do.
What's going on the main line. We have a very, I think, unexpected use for a dearly departed department store. I don't know about you, but I actually miss Lord & Taylor. Do you miss it?
No.
No. Okay.
Sorry,
well,
I don't.
Must be my age.
I don't.
I could go there for a dress. I don't know. It was a good place for me. So anyway, it's been closed for 4 years?
A while.
Yeah. And the talk was it was going to be chopped up for offices and medical uses, really boring stuff. And guess what? None other than Netflix picks King of Prussia and the Lord & Taylor department store for its very first prototype of its new arts and entertainment venue called Netflix House.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
Yeah. So they're taking all 120,000 square feet, 2 stories, and it's kind of like, Disney World. Disney has Disney World.
Yeah.
Universal Studios has its theme park.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like a theme park without any rides. But there may be like mini golf. There may be ice skating.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, so it's immersive experiences for people who love Netflix shows like Bridgerton. Did you like Bridgerton?
I loved Bridgerton. Yeah. I loved Bridgerton.
I liked the first season with that hunky guy. I'm sorry. I don't know.
The Duke.
The Duke. Oh, you would remember.
Of course I would. Yep.
Yeah, I was pretty. Anyway, so Bridgerton, Stranger Things. So people who love those shows are going to go into these big rooms for these immersive, multi-sensory experiences. Would you take your kids?
I don't know if I would take my kids. It might be something I'd do without them because they're not watching Stranger Things. They're not watching Bridgerton.
Yeah.
My
how old
kids
are
are
they?
4, 6, and 8.
Okay, yeah.
And they love the Netflix movies, but I'm sure there will be like a kids section tied into there. I'm sure they will have some content for kids. We'll have to see. Sounds like something I'd want to do maybe with like girlfriends or.
Right. I went to the Friends experience. Did you go to that last year?
No.
That was at the mall. So it was for people who love Friends. I have to say, I'm not a Friend. I liked it, like anybody. But these people, they were like Friends geeks.
Yeah.
They knew everything about it. And you're sitting at the Central Perk, and you're in Rachel's room or whatever, and people just eat that stuff up.
Yeah,
So,
we did the Harry Potter one at the Franklin Institute.
Oh, yeah?
And it's similar kind of thing where.
Yeah, people love it.
People love it. It's exciting
Hey,
to see.
it's way more interesting, right, than offices or even just Top. I just can't believe that's
It's like how many more stores can fit in the mall?
Right.
They have
Although
everything.
I have to say, I'm really excited. You know what is opened
What's
at the
opening?
mall, or maybe either opened or is about to open, is Vori.
Oh yeah, best sweatpants.
The best
sweatpants.
joggers. Best joggers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So I'm very excited about that. It's kind of athleisure, California brand. So that's my big find at the mall. The other thing going on is Margaret Quo's in Wayne, which I don't know. Have you been there?
Of course.
Who hasn't been to Margaret Quo's? Okay, that, as you know, closed. But there was a deal in place all along, and so she owned the building, and that's a very Asian-looking building.
Yeah.
Right? And Wynn Restaurant Group.
Yeah.
Right? They already have a restaurant really like a few doors
Yeah,
away.
right.
In Blue Elephant.
And then Azi is that them as well?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I mean,
So
the
they're
other
doing
direction.
Asian, but guess what kind of Asian? Did you read Savvy? Do you know?
Chinese? Are they?
No, it's not Chinese. No.
I
It's
read
the only
Savvy,
think
but-
about the only kind of Asian that doesn't exist right now, I don't think, in Wayne.
Which is?
Vietnamese. But combine it with French, so it's French Vietnamese.
Oh, their restaurants are.
They're great.
They're great. I mean, even my kids, my girls are like, let's go to Azi.
Yeah.
It's a great dining experience.
Yeah. We've had a lot of Asian newcomers lately.
Yeah.
A lot of sushi, a lot of, but not much Vietnamese that I can think of. So that's kind of exciting that
Yeah,
at
it
least
was-
that building will not be vacant.
It was
Another big
sad when
vacancy
they
in
closed.
Wayne. Yeah.
And downtown Wayne is looking sad.
There's a new sign up at the Gap. Still no takers. 2 paper dolls moved out. There's a lot. It's just one vacancy after
If
another.
the Gap can't make it and pay those rents, who is gonna?
Yeah.
But-
So speaking of closures, 2 of note: the Tarlton School, which has been in existence since 1957 in Berwyn, in this really cool Addison Hutton designed mansion, and served generations of families. A non-religious preschool just told their families that they will not open next year. And people are scrambling.
Can't even imagine.
I mean, what would you do?
I would be. There's no spots at other preschools, so I would be in a complete tailspin because childcare is so tough. It is so tough for our preschool, I had an application in for my second 2 children within 2 weeks of them being born.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's called planning ahead.
Yeah. No, the school.
Are people doing it now when they're pregnant? They're like, okay, or I'm thinking about getting pregnant, so I'm going to put my name on some preschool list or some daycare list.
Yeah. The director of the school sent a package with a bib and an application. She was like, get your spot now, just in case.
Oh, man.
And
yeah, it's crazy. So I really feel badly for them. And I do wonder what's going to happen to that really cool building.
I know.
I don't know.
And I actually heard last week, there's another preschool in Berwyn associated with one of the churches.
Trinity, maybe?
That is switching from a preschool to a daycare and has also left
Really?
parents scrambling.
Yeah, so part of the problem at Tarlton is they can't get qualified staff. And that's the problem. Wow. And that's why these preschools have had to close like baby rooms and toddler rooms, because they don't have the teachers, because they can't pay them enough and keep the prices affordable for the families who need to send their kids there.
There is such a crazy demand for a 2s classroom in every single preschool, and it is so hard to find.
Yeah, nuts, crazy. And then also this other one is a heartbreaker, POI Hardware. That losing POI Hardware, 74 years in business. I don't know, did you shop there?
Yeah, well, when I was working for Caroline's husband, we had that in there.
Newsflash.
When I was an attorney, I worked for Caroline's husband.
That's how we met, yeah.
And the office was like I'd run up there and, if I had to grab stuff, it was right when I bought our first house.
Yeah.
And, we weren't hiring people to do anything. I was running the hardware store, grabbing this and that, and they were helpful.
Like helpful, that's the difference.
I don't know what I was doing.
How many stores so their business motto was, if you get from the front of the store to the back of the store and no one helps you, you're doing it all wrong. And so you'd have like 3 guys, they're all old guys, coming up and saying, what can you do? And you need like some little screw, and they'll spend a half an hour helping you find just the right one, and they don't even care. They were just one of a kind. And the tomatoes, that's all I'll have to say.
Yeah, people are up and very upset about the tomatoes.
Yeah. So tell me, what are you loving on the main line these days?
Right now, I am loving the programming from the townships. I think having any activities that you do as a family or any activities that you do as a kid, it just seems like it's so much right now. Whether it's a time commitment, whether it's cost, whether it's just effort. And the townships, especially I live in Radnor, are putting out programming that kind of bridges that gap and fills that hole, where things are affordable, they're interesting, they are fun.
Yeah.
And it's, my kids and
so what kinds of things have you?
So my kids they're doing volleyball. My kids are doing Harry Potter camp.
Ooh.
And I'm telling you, they run it like, I don't understand how a township can put it together like this.
Yeah.
It is incredible what they do. But they have, coming up in June, a camp out night.
Oh.
Yeah, my kids are not blessed with parents that are going to take them camping. It's just not going to happen. It's not.
The mainline fine does not camp. Newsflash.
No. But at the Willows, you can learn to fish. You learn how to start a fire. You learn to camp on a, yeah.
Wait, with the parents?
Yeah, you have to have a parent.
I was going to say, that would be a wild scene.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a camp out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean, they do whiskey tasting at the Willows, and goat yoga.
Goat yoga.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that's a thing. I don't understand it. I don't think I want to understand it, but I know people like it.
You could try it out, and it's like mostly free, or a couple bucks. Yeah. And it's some of the sports and activities that our kids do. It's so expensive. Right. It's so time consuming.
Those travel teams. Oy.
Don't even get me started on the travel sports. But it's really filling a gap in the community that I don't think private businesses are able to do right now.
So anything you're not loving?
Yeah. I mentioned I have 3 young kids. I'm in my late 30s. I talked about my starter house.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of my friends and myself are coming to this point where we've sort of outgrown our starter homes. We can't move. So we're trying to renovate.
Because the prices are ridiculous.
Prices are ridiculous. The interest rates are ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to renovate. And we'll get quotes. I'll talk to someone on the phone, or my contractor will talk to someone. You get a ballpark range. Then you tell them your zip code. Suddenly, they know nothing about you. They don't know what your house looks like. Suddenly, you're paying a little bit more because you live on the main line. And I think
the mainline tax.
The mainline tax, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's icky stuff.
It's
not fair.
It's not fair. You know, there's sort of socioeconomic stereotyping about just because you live in Bryn Mawr or Villanova,
you can afford it.
That you can afford, 10% more on every service that.
So that is annoying.
Yeah.
And should I tell you what I am loving?
Yeah.
Loving?
Tell me. What are you loving? What are you not loving?
All right. I was kind of sad. This is a little thing, but Spanga in Gateway Shopping Center. You would think anybody in Gateway Shopping Center is going to kill it, right?
Yeah.
So this woman invested in a fitness franchise called Spanga, Spin, Strength, and Yoga. And I looked it up. The franchise fee just to get in is $50,000. Then hundreds of thousands of dollars in equipment, rent, all of that stuff. And she closed within a year. And that just breaks my heart. When these small businesses where people put their life savings, they have a dream, they do everything right. She did everything right. And
it didn't take off.
Too much competition,
And the rents.
Not to mention Lifetime, the big elephant in the room. And the rents are really high in Gateway. It's just, I was sad about that. As far as loving, I'm very excited about Duk Shin. So he's that guy who, he's a hero, and he died being a hero. He's a father in Berwyn, 2 kids, 7-year-old and 9-year-old. They're spring break in Bermuda, and he sees somebody else's child flailing in the water. He rushes in to save that child, and he is pulled under and drowns. And it's a horrible story, but the GoFundMe for him, the goal was $50,000 for the education of his kids. They raised $137,000.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so the main line comes through for people, especially people who've had a heartache. I love that sort of neighborliness that we have here. That just makes me really happy.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think we're out of time. So fun to have you here. Thanks. I know you're not sticking around for the interview, but everybody, the mainline find, she's awesome. Aly McBride, we'll have you back.
Of course, I'll be back.
Thanks. Our guests today are 2 friends who are on a mission to make mainline women and girls all over the Philly suburbs feel better about ourselves, feel stronger, feel wiser, feel more capable and confident, feel able to say no, to get back up when we're knocked down, take time for ourselves, all those good things. Twice a year, they host one-day women's retreats called Lifting Your Voice. I bought a ticket twice, and both times I left feeling charged up and stronger in my own skin. And I thought, let's get these 2 dynamos on the pod. And here they are. Yay! I'm so grateful. You're always talking about being able to say no, and you said yes.
This is true.
Sometimes you say yes. So more formally, let me introduce you. Tracy Davidson is one of the most recognizable and empathetic faces and voices in TV news in Philadelphia. A 14-time Emmy-winning anchor and investigative consumer reporter at NBC 10, Tracy has an amazing ability to connect with people, whether they're on the small screen or in person. She's an in-demand motivational speaker who's been battle-tested by her own challenges and often speaks about resilience. She's also a woman of faith who fairly recently earned a master's in holistic spirituality. And she's a longtime advocate for women in crisis in our community. Oh, and she has lived on the main line for 25 years or so, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Her Lifting Your Voice co-host, Jen Croneberger, is the founder and Chief Inspiration Officer, love that, at J. Lynn Consulting Group and the Human Leadership Institute. She crisscrosses the country giving inspirational keynote speeches, consulting and leading team workshops, and coaching executives to lead with authenticity and compassion. She's a published author and has given 4 TEDx talks. And like Tracy, she's open about her own life challenges. Jen has a master's in sports and performance psychology, and she's also, sorry to say this, A Cowboys fan. Oh my God.
Wah.
I am trying
talk about that
not to hold that against her. Welcome to the show, Tracy and Jen.
We're so happy to be here. And yes, we can continue to rib her about that.
Yeah, can we please?
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
I'm a Yankees fan
And you're
too,
wearing
so-
blue, of course.
I know.
Right, yeah. And silver, blue and silver.
little
How
bit,
dare you? I love how you two both kind of show up in the world, even for people you don't know. In my case, someone you barely know. And so I really do appreciate your showing up here today.
Happy to be here.
I think of lifting your voice as a buddy act. I really do. I think you guys, it's like Oprah and Gayle King or like
right.
Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin, right?
Oh, now, yeah.
No, seriously.
I love it.
It's like, you'll be like all soulful and Oprah-ish and you'll like put in the one-line zinger and then you'll play off each other really well. And I guess what I'm wondering is, how did you guys get together and how did you join forces? Two motivational speakers joining forces for something brand new.
Start.
So I had done the TEDx in Westchester the year before Tracy did hers. And they had invited me back to go be in the audience and, support. So I did. And Tracy ended up being on stage. And I thought, oh, I know her. I've seen her on TV. Oh, and she was good. So I went down afterwards and I wanted to introduce myself to her. And that was it. Like we just started talking.
You just clicked.
We appeared in the same places, speaking sometimes at the same events.
We kept
really?
we kept
Yeah, we
crisscrossing
kept
at events.
crisscrossing.
So we were attending
Okay.
an event that
Yep.
the other one was speaking at, or
Yep.
we were both speaking at, until one day when we were supposed to meet up for coffee,
Yep.
and we both had reached our limit of just we can't do one step more. And then that led to an even deeper conversation and a deeper friendship, which was sort of the beginning seeds of lifting your voice, that we were hearing from so many women in both of our circles that women were being rock stars, right? They were checking off all the to-do list. But the world was getting so loud and so fast that they weren't even hearing their own voice. They weren't even advancing their own, what they believed their either personal development or career development or what they wanted in life.
Yeah.
They weren't even hearing it, let alone acting on it.
And you both felt the same way. And you
Yeah,
said, let's bring people together.
We decided that being able to say no to the right things so
And
that
yes
you
to the
can say
important
yes
things.
to the important
Like
things.
Savvy Mainline's podcast.
exactly
No,
right.
it's
You're
true.
exactly right.
It really is true.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, because then you run so fast,
Yep.
and then when an invitation comes up, and you think, I would love that.
Yes.
I mean, that would feed me. That would lift me up. And then you think, I can't do that. I'm
It's
exhausted.
one more thing.
That's right.
That's
You're
one
right.
more thing. And so, yeah, we talk a lot about, and it's all part of self-care and self-love. Really taking care of yourself.
Do you think anything about this area, the main line, because this is Savvy Mainline podcast, there's a kind of a knock sometimes on the main line where people maybe are too preoccupied with appearances, putting on a good face, being all brave when inside they're like crumbling or they're a mess.
Yeah.
And I guess what I wonder is, do you think we're getting any better about making any progress in that area? Like we're a little more open. I kind of feel that we are, but
Yeah, I think so. I think that's been a thing. And I think, you see this busy culture, right? It's this like I'm going here and going there and my social calendar is full and I can't take on anything else. And I am so, yes, someone, how are you? And you get the answer, oh, so busy.
yeah, like
We wear that almost like it's a star. It's
badge
like,
of
this
honor.
is right. And
Yeah.
it's not. It's not because we can't get to the things that really matter then. And I think that's what we were seeing. And it's our hope that we can help women kind of get past that and say, that's actually not enjoyable.
yeah.
How can we
So-
do it better?
And two things I think about is, one, you can be busy and
Right.
be vulnerable and say, I'm busy and I'm really working on it and I'm really tired.
Right.
And I think, and secondly, I think that we got better at sharing our vulnerabilities
Yeah.
during COVID.
For sure.
And I do believe that is a thing, that people are starting to understand that you can grow relationships and people will respect you more.
Yes.
When you share a little bit about your humanness. That's what it is. So I think people are starting to, you always talk about it. It's humanness. It's not a negative. It's what binds us all together. Yeah. And the instant you start to share a little bit of that, you've made a deeper connection with the person that you're talking with.
Absolutely.
All right, so I'm going to share a little humanness right now.
I love it.
So the first time I went to Lifting Your Voice, I was not in a good place. I was just like really busy, really, always teetering on burnout, always feeling out of balance, thinking, what am I doing? My friends are like hanging out with their grandchildren, and here I am busting my butt, lonely hours typing at my computer, grinding. And I'm like, what for? It's not like I make $1 million, So I came there really depleted. And I think it was a combination of hearing what you had to say and listening to other people in the room also feeling that way. And then something happened. And I think it was like the good Lord from on high. I went up to the lunch line and I am getting my plate. And I see this woman, Carol Felton Shore, who I didn't know, but she recognized me and she's a PR person. And she said, how you doing? And I said, not great. I'm struggling. I'm not sure what I'm doing. And I said, I'm a little burnt out and all the things I just said to you. And she said, oh no, Caroline. Oh no. You no.
I can hear it.
She said, you're not done. You have more to give. You don't know the impact you're having and that your stories are making a difference and people rely on you to do not Philadelphia, but local news.
Of course, yes.
And I said, wow, this person who doesn't know me felt so strongly. And I took that back and I walked out of there, I swear, with a spring in my step. Combination of you two, doing your Oprah and Gail act. So
I love it.
It's pretty great. So I'm wondering the kind of feedback you get from others at your retreat. Do you get that kind of stuff all the time?
I think we do hear it because people come in with different things, different issues, different places in their life. And so for some people who have come back many, many times, they'll say, when I came here, I was working on this, or I was thinking about this. And then many, many times afterwards, they'll say, we heard you say that back then, but it didn't really resonate with us until right now because they're in that certain moment.
Right.
But I love hearing your testimonial because it allows you to take a step back and say, well, maybe I do want to keep doing this, but maybe I can't do it as I'm doing it right now. Maybe I need to adjust the sails a little bit.
Yeah. I got some more writing help. I did some things and added a podcast because why not?
Because why not?
Right. Busy.
That's great.
But yeah, so anyway, I told Tracy when I saw you a couple, I said, you changed my life. You don't even know it, girl.
That's great.
Yeah, it's lovely when we hear that.
It really is.
And when I think about your message, if you were to distill it into 2 words, I would say you're kind of preaching the gospel of resilience and empathy. And you use your own life stories as validation. And I think that people who have struggled themselves are the people who feel most called to help others. I don't know if you agree with me, but I see this all the time. I write a lot of stories about resilience and people finding purpose in their pain. I mean, that is like a through line through so many stories I've done over the years. And you like to say everybody has stuff, right? So Jen, you are open about overcoming some serious, life-threatening mental health struggles. So what are you comfortable sharing about now about your stuff and how you've overcome it?
So I have dealt with depression and anxiety my whole life. There was a lot of uncertainty, I think. I had a great family, great home life. All of that was fantastic. But it was coming through high school and then college and just trying to figure out who I was going to be in the world. And that's not easy for anyone. So walking that walk was recognizing that, I had to handle this and I had to figure out the best way to make sure that mentally I was okay. So, years of seeing a therapist, of taking meds, of all the things that I know I need to do every day, or monthly or whatever, to be my best self. And I had a lot of love and support along the way to figure that out. And so I'm open about that because I think the stigma of mental health still really exists. And there's a lot of people who, I remember having this conversation and saying, I deal with that. And you're like the happiest, funniest person I know. I'm like, yeah, that's right.
Tears at the clown, right?
This is, I mean, this is also the face of depression and anxiety. And I can laugh and I'm very happy. I have a great life.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that doesn't exist for me. That's a real thing.
So I should congratulate you on you're a newlywed.
Yes,
because technically it's a year, right?
It's almost a year.
Right? So you have a year that you're still a newlywed.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
And I love the fact that there are 2 Jens in your household.
There are
Excuse
2
me.
Jens. It's very confusing for some.
How does that work? Does that cause problems? Like
Only
with
if
the mail or phone calls?
Well, it was funny because
Which Jen? No other Jen.
there were people who asked us if we were going to change. One of us was going to change our name. And I was like, now how would that work? We'd be the same person. I mean, unless I changed my first name. They're like, oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. So it works great.
To prepare for this interview, because I don't really know you, I looked at your wedding video. I have to say that was, I think, the most joyous looking celebration of a wedding I've ever seen. And it was
Tracy gifted us with her presents.
No,
you and John.
You were there. I'm sure you were there.
Yeah, she was there.
Yeah. Where was that? It said Malvern. Where was
it was Anthony Wayne House.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. It was beautiful.
Looked beautiful.
Really,
it was
beautiful.
Your face was just like, this woman, I think it's when you have suffered.
Yeah.
That and you just you appreciate. You're like,
absolutely.
You're joy. There's more joy. You feel it's more intense.
That's right. And we were really intentional about that day. We really wanted it to be specific to us. We wanted it to be about us, who we are as people and what lights us up, and surrounded by the people that we absolutely love and who support us and lift us up every day. And that's exactly what it was. It was so great.
Awesome. Really awesome.
Thank you.
So Tracy, you had a tough childhood. I don't know much about it. I've heard just bits and pieces. What do you feel comfortable sharing? Or?
So parents that both had substance use issues, which made for sort of a chaotic and sometimes violent home life. And I had a brother who is a year younger and a sister who is 8 years younger. So we were sort of tasked with making sure that she was okay. Which is...
So you were the oldest.
I was the oldest,
you had a big job.
Yes.
A lot of responsibility.
Yeah. So, but when I look back, I think I learned so many lessons. I learned, that's when I learned to be able to do things without anyone telling me that you can't or it's wrong. Right? Like we talk about this a lot for confidence, right? When we were all younger, we were, we'd put on a new outfit, a new dress, or a new whatever. Look at me. Fast forward decades, and most women are like, hi.
Yeah.
Hi. Right? But when I was younger, I didn't have the feedback to tell me that I was doing something wrong. Right. So I tried anything and would do anything.
So your parents didn't have boundaries. Like you wouldn't feel no boundaries. They were kind of doing
She's like,
whatever.
what are those?
Yeah. What are those?
Wow.
Well, here's a story that is really a powerful story for me. So don't be sad about it. It was around Christmas time, and we lived up against some woods. And it was clear that the adults in the house had other stuff going on. They had stuff, And I was like, is anybody going to get a Christmas tree? So I knew there was a little handsaw down in the garage. So I went in the backyard and I cut down, which is by now, I mean, I was 4th grade, so I'm sure it was more of a branch than an actual tree. But
felt like a tree.
But I leaned it in the corner of the kitchen, and I'd heard about stringing popcorn. I'm like, well, that can't be that hard. And I found the needle and I decorated it. It worked for me. No one told me I couldn't do it.
That's right.
I tell people that my parents were great, but all my friends got Easter baskets, and they got to a point where like they couldn't be bothered, and like, it's just sugar, you don't need it or whatever. And so my friends would chip in, and they'd get me an Easter basket. It was like so sad, But it's funny how you carry those funny little pieces with you, and you make do. Sure. You learn.
Absolutely.
You adjust. And then, well, your other big challenge was breast cancer, right?
Yeah. In fact, I just opened my email from Penn from a mammogram yesterday.
Yay!
Cancer free.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Happy to hear that. That's great.
Thank you.
And you shared that pretty publicly.
I did. It was in 2015. I actually kept it quiet when I had been diagnosed, and then the surgery, and then close to the last few weeks of radiation. Yeah. I decided to share it. It was hard to decide whether or not I wanted to share it, because in my business, it's really not supposed to be about me. Right? As a journalist, no story is about me. I'm serving the viewer, the user, the reader, the listener. And so I really didn't want any story to be about me. And then I thought, well, but if I can help someone, if I can remind someone that do not push all your self-care, including your exams that you know you need, including the mammogram, down to the bottom of your to-do list, then maybe I can help someone. And there's a woman, Betsy Fagan, she followed me on my Facebook page, and she wrote later that year, she said, I did what you told me because you said don't wait. And I had waited, and I made the appointment, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Wow. Yeah.
And she says, it's going to make me cry. She says, I think of you every time that I go to my my child's wedding or my other child graduating college, that I was here because I finally listened and went and got a mammogram.
That's huge. Wow, that's amazing.
It really is. Yeah. So, Jen, I was interested to hear about you as a sports performance coach.
I had worked a lot in baseball and softball, and really found I was this was going back now, 2005, 6, whenever this was. It was the professional softball team out of Philadelphia. They brought me on as their mental game coach. So I would travel with the team, and that was fun. I got to spend time and do that. And then I worked a lot with Division I college programs around the country.
How about women's basketball these days?
Yeah, right?
I'm loving it.
Isn't it amazing?
I am just loving it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Caitlin Clark.
I think she woke a lot of
Dawn
people up.
And Dawn Staley.
Yes, that was a beautiful moment.
She unbelievable.
Yeah. It was good to see that.
It's really great to see.
I need one of the T-shirts that say I watch women's sports.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Agreed.
What is your best piece of advice for parents who have student athletes who are stressed?
So I used to talk a lot to parents of some of the kids that I would coach and some of the clients that would come into my office back then. And one of the things I talked a lot about was, and I called it the car ride home, that you can make or break your child in the car ride home. If you ask the wrong questions, if you put the pressure on too much, if you ask why they made that mistake, or the question, in my opinion, that should be asked when your child gets in the car after a sporting event, win, lose, or whatever, what flavor of ice cream you want. That's it.
Perfect.
Because this is a game, and they know when they make a mistake.
Yeah.
And it was hard to watch. I coached for years at all levels, college level as well. I coached softball. And what I would see was heartbreaking sometimes that, parents.
Parental pressure.
Yes.
Damn parents.
Yeah. And some kids would leave the sport. They would be burned out because of.
I saw that a lot.
Yeah.
As a parent on the sidelines.
That's the key. That's the key.
Yeah,
keep
I like
it light,
that.
keep
The car
it fun,
ride home. That's good.
And be careful. Yeah, pay attention to the car ride home.
Yeah.
Listen.
And you practiced a little sports psychology on yourself because you became a runner.
Oddly enough, yes.
How the heck did you convince yourself to do that? You could never work your psychology, because I'm never going to become a runner. And I don't think Tracy is either, right? Yeah.
She's like, hard no.
Yeah, hard no.
You know, sneakers on today,
Not
so
in this
I'll challenge
lifetime.
you. It was part of, when I would speak places, part of what I would talk about was rewriting your story, going from I can't to I did. And so I wanted to have 3 different examples of that for myself. And one of them was writing a book. I had wanted since I was a little kid to write a book. And I wanted to change that I can't to I did, because most of my adult life I said, you can't write a book. Who are you to write a book? Nobody's going to read your book. You can't do that.
Imposter syndrome.
So it was the can't. And then I wanted to rewrite that. And one of the other ones was running. I've been an athlete my whole life. I played sports that were short bursts of speed. I was fast, but didn't like distance.
Okay.
And I thought, I need to, on my 127 things to do before I die list, number 73 was run a 5K.
Okay.
And I thought, all right, I just have to check it off. And then I did it, and I thought, well, maybe I could do that better. It was the competitive side of me. And so I just started to run and ran almost 100 races by the time I was done.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Tracy, I love that your website has, the tracydavidson.com website, has the tagline, "Here to serve." That hit me. And I know that comes from your faith and the sort of the servant's heart, right, that we all aspire to have. So I guess I want to ask you how faith informs your life, and also this, there aren't too many news anchors who, in their spare time, run off to the seminary to study theology.
No, that's not a thing.
It's not. I don't think it's a thing. Do you think it's a thing?
You should have seen those poor seminarians when the lady on TV showed up in heels and makeup.
Right.
They didn't know what quite to make of me when I asked to join their study group. Let's see. Well, you know what? Well, let me just start with the big answer in that I feel like I have been given a million gazillion gifts from God. And while I usually say when people talk about giving back, I hope that I would be giving whether I got anything anyway. But I mean, I really just feel that's why I was put on this earth, is to serve other people. And I feel lucky that I get to do it in my job. People say, how can you do what you do when you're talking about so many bad things that happen in the world and in the city, and right? But I couldn't do any of it without my faith. And when I hear something just horrific happen, I'm quietly in my brain saying a little prayer and almost immediately saying, I know that God was somewhere there. I know that God was somewhere there.
Someone proposed that I do a story on the lack of people in the pews on the main line. I went to an Easter service and I was shocked. I think there were more people in the choir than in the pews. And this was like their marquee service of the morning, Easter morning, and there was nobody there. And I wonder if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, I cross lines and attend St. Dennis in Havertown.
I used to go to their fair when I grew up.
And of course, that's a big deal, right?
It was a big deal.
That is, yes, that's great. It's well known for that.
I didn't go to their church, but I went to their fair.
But the church is always packed, and I feel really, really blessed to be in that kind of a strong faith community where people are, you always use the words, people showing up, really showing up. They're really showing up as their full selves in church and as a community. In terms of, in general, fewer people in the pews, I think that's waning whether you're on the main line or across the country. And I think people
for sure. Yeah.
I mean, here's another thing. I bet you if we talk to a bunch of women, they would say, well, that's, faith is important to me. But again, it's something that gets pushed down on the list. And if they say, well, I need to find a place that I really feel good about worshiping at, even that practice, even saying to themselves, well, there's this church and I have a friend who goes here and I have a friend who goes here. Even the practice of saying, let's find a community of believers to practice with, to even that is it gets pushed down.
Yeah,
I believe. And while I believe for me that you should be in community and worship, that doesn't mean that you're not faith-filled if you're not in community.
Okay, final question. What does an ideal day on the main line look for you? Like, where do you go? What would you do? What would you eat or drink? People are always looking for ideas. Hidden gems,
please go.
undiscovered places.
I hit the hiking trails.
Oh, you do.
So I would be doing that. So go ahead.
Okay.
Well, all right.
I love to hike too.
Yeah.
St. Peter's Village is one of my favorite places to go because I love the waterfall there.
These are not main line, by the way, but okay.
Yeah.
Oh, whoops.
It's okay. It's all right. No, it's
White Dog Cafe.
White Dog Cafe is always good.
They'll be
it there.
thrilled. Yes.
Always good. Mercantile and Cafe.
Oh, my friend Meg.
Yes.
Life's Patina.
Life's
Yes.
Patina, whether it's
She's
at the
awesome.
barn
Yep.
or
Yes.
or
That's
there. I love that.
That's a treasure.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, I would say that.
That's great. So, what is next for Lifting Your Voice? You have another one coming up.
We have another one coming up. We are now adapting to go into girls' high schools, which has been great.
Will you go to my alma mater, Mary and Mercy Academy?
If we get invited, we would love to.
Okay.
And
I'll see what I can do.
and now we're being invited to come into companies for women's resource groups.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. So you're taking this. Like you're riding this puppy. That's great.
I mean, we think the conversation is important,
It
and
is.
it really transcends all ages
100%.
and backgrounds and all of that. And I think we can make change happen.
Yeah.
And we love doing it together.
One
It's
human
fun.
at a time.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So lightning
like, do
lightning
it.
round. So you don't. All right, you got to answer fast.
Yep.
Although I don't have too many questions. But anyway.
So it's going to be really fast.
It's going to be
really
very
fast.
lightning. Yes.
And you don't have to think. Okay. What gets you up in the morning? Go, Jen.
My dogs.
They got my.
Yeah, but
Jump
like
on you.
really, like I know this is weird.
Oh,
but
you
I
have to
can't
get
wait
up and you have to get up
get
and
up
take care
and
of them.
take care of them. But I can't wait to like
Yeah.
get up and take them out and be outside.
Got it.
Yeah.
Tracy.
Coffee.
Only
Lift. Yeah, well, you know what I do? Here's my little thing. I lift up all of the drapes in my room because the sun comes in that way. And my favorite thing is to go get coffee and go get my Bible and like just take 10
You
minutes
do
and
your
be.
still time.
Yeah.
Yeah. For you. What is keeping you up at night?
All the relationships I have still to build. All the people that I could help. That's what I think about at night. You know, where else can I serve?
Yeah. Servant's heart
Who
again.
can I help? Yeah.
Tracy.
I have that list of all the things I want to do before I die, and helping people in different places are definitely on that list. But the older I get, and the longer that list gets, the more I'm like, boy, I better hurry up because I got some things to do.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
you
right.
do. What would people be most surprised to learn about you? Jen.
I was nominated for homecoming queen at University of Delaware
Oh.
when I was in college.
Yeah. Did you
Seems
win?
weird.
You were
No, I
nominated. It was an honor just to be
second
nominated. Just to be
runner-up. Yeah, it was just odd. I don't know.
There you go.
People were like, "What?" I don't know.
How about you?
I think probably the crafts that I do.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're crafty.
you are very crafty.
Yeah,
like you
the
just-
crafts I do, I think.
You just do them in your spare time when
Yeah.
you're not
Yeah,
reading
her
the
spare
Bible,
time.
taking classes, getting advanced degrees.
It really
Right. Yeah.
it fills me up. It makes me happy to create.
Yeah.
To create the
Yeah, I get that.
creativity.
I get that.
Okay. I have to say it was really great to have you here. I didn't think you'd say yes, and you did. You're
Absolutely.
like, you believe in saying no, and you said yes. So thanks. And I learned a lot, and I hope our listeners did too, and that they learn more about lifting your voice. And they can look at the show notes of Savvy Mainline to find out where to contact you and get awesome speeches and hear about your crafts now. So this was fun. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for getting savvy with us. This episode was recorded and produced in Bryn Mawr by the Uncommon Individual Foundation, a mentoring nonprofit that powers On Track Plus. Subscribe to Savvy Mainline, the podcast, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or if you want to see our shining faces, YouTube. It's all posted at savvymainline.com. Be sure to follow @SavvyMainline on Instagram and Facebook for breaking news and tidbits around town.